Similarly, quoting, "The proposed development would provide residents the opportunity to access medical services and commercial uses via foot or bicycle." Quoting further, "A network of sidewalks and paths is necessary to provide for these bike and pedestrian connections. If provided, this would support Transportation Policy TR2. Quoting further, "The proposed development provides a type of housing, parentheses, rental and multifamily apartments, that is in short supply in Snellville." Continuing on page 5, quoting, "The large areas of open green space on the subject property provide an opportunity to serve the adjacent neighborhoods if pedestrian access to these properties is provided." Continuing, quoting, "The proposed development would leave approximately 70% of the site as open space. If developed under the current BG zoning regulations, up to 90% of the site could be developed." Quoting further, "The proposed development would provide housing in close proximity to existing services and shops." Quoting further, "There's very little multifamily or rental housing in Snellville. The proposed development would help expand housing options in the city." Again, quoting directly from a report by a third party that's analyzing. It's not just me saying it. It's somebody else looking at your comprehensive plan and planning documents and suggesting that there is merit to our proposal. With respect to the rezoning of the property, a similar situation is apparent in that third-party report, and the staff report reflects this as well. It says, question, "Is the proposed development suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby property?" Answer, yes. "Does the proposed development adversely affect the existing use or usability of adjacent or nearby property?" No. "Does the proposed development result in a use which would or could cause excessive burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or school?" And the report analyzes that, and Mr. Thompson reflected it, but the short answer in my view is that it doesn't create a burden on the school system. The elementary school is under capacity. The high school and the middle school are over capacity, but they're over capacity regardless of this project. Adding a small number of students to an existing situation is not material. We're talking about percentages on the margins, 1% for the high school, 2% for the middle school. Similarly, the transportation study you heard referenced reflects that the transportation infrastructure with appropriate enhancement as a result of this, and the staff recommended conditions, should you see fit to approve this zoning, suggest transportation improvements, but those transportation improvements would mitigate the impacts of this development. The infrastructure, in spite of what folks are going to get up here and say, is appropriate to handle this development and this location. Transportation study is clear on that. It's a matter of the record. With respect to characterization by some that this is a sprawl development, I would submit to you that it's the exact opposite of sprawl. This is concentrated development in a location at a lesser density, 2.35 persons per household, as relates to the city's existing 2.85 persons per household. So this is a different type of development. And again, that's not me saying it, that's your third-party analysts saying it. Urban sprawl, quoting from page 10 of the report, "Urban sprawl is characterized by low-density development, segregated land use, and lack of centers. The design of the proposed residential development is compact in nature, and although not mixed use in its own right, the development's location is in close proximity, walkable, bikeable to a variety of everyday services and employment opportunities, and provides good access to the major transportation routes. Adding a residential component to the commercial and institutional uses at Ronald Reagan Parkway SR 124 intersection would help in creating nodal development." Similarly, the property values relative to this, as I understand it from the report, current valuation on the property is about $1 million. As proposed valuation, if my client's able to do this, would be about $25 million. I've already talked to you about, and I don't need to repeat it, but I will say page 11 in this report does deal with the tax issues relating to enhancement of property values and supports our position. We believe, and I hope that you will agree, that a project like this is right for the city of Snellville. Reasonable people, I suppose, can disagree as to the location of a project, but as you are aware, there's not many opportunities for new development in the city. The existing land uses are established and will take some time to redevelop. This presents, we believe, an opportunity to comply with the city's goals and to have a project which could be first class and first in class in the city. We ask that you approve the land use plan change because this project conforms with the city's comprehensive plan policies and implementation strategies. We ask that you then approve the rezoning with the variances we have requested in accordance with the staff's recommended conditions, which would allow for multifamily parking at a lower intensity than the ordinances otherwise require and increased height. I'd like to save the balance of my time for rebuttal, but be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council for Mr. Tucker? Thank you, Mr. Tucker, and we'll certainly give you an opportunity for rebuttal.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we'll open the floor for public hearing. I have a couple of requests for you. First, we certainly want to hear from everyone, but do us a favor. If a point has been brought up already, we won't need you to repeat it for us. We'll get it, but if you have new information to bring forward, please do so. The other thing is when you come to the podium, there's a final piece of paper there. It would be very kind of you to just write for us your first name and your last name. And the reason for that is it does become part of the public record, and we don't want to spell your last name by committee. We'd rather know exactly how it's spelled. So if you put your first and last name there, we'd certainly appreciate it. So at that point, we open the floor for anyone who wants to come forward. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman and Council. My name is Chantel Grace. I live in the River Mist community at 1205 Bice Drive in Lilburn. I just am up here because I am a concerned citizen regarding the Brand Properties proposed development, and I have done my due diligence and research, and in the next few minutes I will briefly go over some facts regarding the impact on the Brookwood School cluster, and I am against amending the LUP. Okay. Okay, Brookwood High School is a distinguished award-winning school. However, this is one recognition that it should not be proud of. According to a website called University Prime Time, Brookwood is ranked in the top 100 of the largest high schools in America. It is not a detriment to be a large school. However, when it is already at overcapacity, it puts a burden on education. If these apartments go through, expect to see this. According to my calculations, there could be potentially 936 students over capacity at Brookwood High School. I know this chart is, it's very colorful and hard to read, but basically what I wanted to point out is that all of this data can be found online through the Gwinnett County website. What I did is I consolidated it all so I could look at it. So I consolidated all the impact studies into one spreadsheet. And I wanted to point out that it's important to note that the GCPS studies do not include the new developments, which are in the light blue color or the sky blue color. These new developments will add over approximately 100 new houses to this area that will feed into the Brookwood High School. This needs to be taken account and should raise some concern. Shown in green are the rezonings. These rezonings just happen to they happen to downsize from maybe low density to medium density residential. However, Brand, and shown in red, they want to resize or they want to rezone from general business down to mixed residential. They are asking to go from zero impact to high density. This area that y'all are considering was never considered to feed into our schools. The city of Snellville needs smart growth, and I don't think this is. That's all I have.
Would you put your name on the paper for me,
Oh, I
please?
put it in the back.
If you would, I'm right there. We're just going to try and have them all in one place, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, my name is Chad Baker. I live at 1380 Blythe Walk in Snellville. So I'm here tonight, and first of all, I'd like to say that I have worked with Lee and Justin, the applicants, and I have the utmost respect for them, and I think that they are fine at what they do. Very, very talented. I would hire them myself if I was doing something like this. However, I think that this project is inconsistent. I know that this project is inconsistent with the future land use plan for the city of Snellville. And I'd just like to speak to a few items. Lee mentioned that, he quoted the comprehensive land use plan. All of that is in your comprehensive land use plan, of course. But there are also other items in your land use plan that speak to the purpose and intent of your zoning ordinance, your development regulations, none of which are violated by your denial of this application. So you can uphold the purpose and intent of the land use plan documents, the development regulation documents, the zoning documents by denying this application tonight. That's what the documents are for. They're there to ensure that we grow smart in the city of Snellville and not haphazardly. You're not very well, but I'd like to speak to several issues that are reflected on this map. Before I do, I want to mention the issue of highest and best use. There's nothing that's been proven to say that the land use plan as it's currently, as this parcel is currently designated, doesn't provide the highest and best use for office, professional, or civic institutional. There's no reason to think that you can't use the property for that use. In fact, the Uncle Betty's Barbecue and the Up the Creek Restaurant have both recently undergone redevelopments approved by this council for medical use and for pharmacy. So there's no reason to think that the land use plan and the zoning that's in the place today wouldn't support something that's there today, that you can use on it today. One of the things that I think the city of Snellville is interested in doing is attracting national retailers and tenants that want to come to the city of Snellville and provide jobs and growth and great business opportunities. And many of those national retailers use $75,000 household income as a starting point for considering projects in the city of Snellville. If you rezone this piece of property and amend the land use plan against what it currently calls for, then where are you going to displace that use to? This is a lot of property. It's adjacent to a lot more property that's not developed but is entitled for a lot. Where are you going to displace that use to? Lee has already said there's not a lot of places in the city of Snellville to create infill development. So where would that commercial tax base come from if you decide to rezone this for residential? So, I mean, that's something that should be considered. There's not a large tract like this in the city of Snellville near Scenic Highway where you would want to put a commercial or medical or office or institutional type development. There's plenty of places that you could put residential development. And for the record, there's a lot of rental properties out there that are single family detached homes that are renting their property, where the owners are renting their properties for the same rates that this development is proposing to rent their apartments for. So I sold my home this summer. I was in a starter home subdivision that I'd lived in for 12 years. And we had 3 offers in 1 week. And we ended up selling our home for more than what we asked for it. That's for 3 reasons. The grace of God, Roy Holman, who is an awesome real estate agent, and Brookwood Schools. That's why we had 3 offers on our house in 1 week, and we sold it for more than it was worth, than we were asking for it. So, that's just the facts. That's just the facts. So nothing about denying this application is going to violate the purpose and intent of your ordinances as they exist today. With regard to the site plan, if you could move to the next Right there. Okay, so the site plan is showing these buildings on this these apartment buildings on this property. Their application says it's going to have 70% open space. I want to speak to that for just a second. The open space is made up of stream buffers and wetlands below the elevation of a dam that is right next door. That's undevelopable property in some sense. So that's why there's a lot of open space on this piece of property. Furthermore, there's a stream on this piece of property bisecting buildings 2, 5, and 6 that's not shown on their site plan. And it's shown in yellow. There's the box in yellow is around that stream, and that would be the resulting buffer if it matched the other buffers of the other streams that are shown on the property. I'm not sure why they're not showing that stream, which today, that stream is shown on the Gwinnett County GIS map. So, along with all the floodplains, dams, and everything else that are used to create this map. So I'm not sure what their intent is, but I'll give you this piece of information. That's approximately 610 linear feet of stream. In order to impact that stream, that requires an individual permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers because the threshold is 300 feet. If you go over 300 feet, you have to get an individual permit from the Corps of Engineers. In order to secure that permit, they would have to do an alternatives analysis that requires avoidance and minimization, showing that they looked at other properties in Snellville and in this adjacent area to show that this is the best place to put this piece of property. And then once that's reviewed by the Army Corps of Engineers, the State Environmental Protection Agency, the State Historical Preservation Agency, the Fish and Wildlife Service, the City of Snellville, Gwinnett County, and all the other jurisdictions, that process typically takes 18 to 24 months in order to entitle. With that said, their traffic study only has a build-out year that's a year out, I think it is. It's 2016. They would need to at least expand the build-out year for the traffic study by a couple of years in order to make sure that they're properly projecting the amount of traffic from future build-out projects that are not being considered right now in their traffic study. So, because they're not going to be able to develop this for at least a year, maybe 18 months or 24 months. So I'd like for y'all to consider that. Also, I know that the city operates under a memorandum of agreement with EPA and EPD that allows them to have a storm sewer system and review erosion control plans and that stuff, and the stuff related to land development. There's a lot of scrutiny that goes into impacting a stream and a wetland. And I think that the city of Snellville wants to protect their stream buffers and their wetlands within the city. And I think that before we entitle a piece of property without knowing exactly what the stream impacts and the wetland impacts would be, I think it would be incumbent upon this council to make sure that we don't just hand out a zoning that can then later be used as a precedent to rezone the adjacent RHOP property to a multifamily housing development without knowing exactly what really could fit on this piece of property. So I want you to consider that before you do that. The interesting thing to note about the site plan is buildings 7 and 8 across the stream beyond the dam, below the dam. That's about a 600 to 700 foot long road. And that's a lot of infrastructure to be built for 2 apartment buildings and a little bit of parking. In previous plans that were submitted by the applicant, there were additional access points shown for this property. One was to the north, going through the office condos behind the Lowe's development. Why is that not being shown now? I can tell you why it's not being shown. There are additional stream impacts that would result from that. There may be access easement issues, but it would be awfully easy to connect a road from the RHOP 62 property to this development via that road right there that they're showing on this plan. So I would want you to consider that before you decided that. Maybe you would put in a no access easement along that property line that would prevent access to the RHOP property. Maybe you would require restrictive covenants on the stream buffers and the wetlands prior to development so that you would ensure protection of the streams and the wetlands prior to the development permit being issued. As far as the traffic study goes, the level of service cited for the intersection at 124 and Tree Lane was a level of service E. That's one step from failing. So I don't see a lot of mitigation happening in the road system that would offset that impact. Furthermore, the 2030 comprehensive land or 2030 traffic plan that Gwinnett County published has the intersection of 124 and Ronald Reagan as a level F already. A lot of people are going to come out of this development and turn right onto Ronald Reagan Parkway, or they're going to go down Tree Lane and turn left on WebGen Road, going to Brookwood or trying to get onto Ronald Reagan. That's just not a level of service that I think that we want to promote. There's 422 bedrooms in this apartment complex, but there's only 152 new trips. What's everybody going to do? Sleep at home and not go anywhere? That's not accurate. I mean, that's just not accurate. There's going to be more cars for 422 bedrooms. Also, have we heard from Gwinnett, from the Georgia Department of Transportation on their review of this traffic study or this site plan? It's their roadway that we're impacting. We're impacting the Georgia Department of Transportation's roadway, not Gwinnett County's roadway. So has GDOT weighed in on the development of this project? We've already heard from Gwinnett County. They recommended denial. And I think that's what we should do. The land use plan calls for denial. Or the land use plan calls for something other than this. I also want to speak to the fact that there's only one access point. What about emergency vehicles? Is that all we want to provide in this access point? I know for a fact that a cul-de-sac in Gwinnett County can only be 1,500 feet long. We're providing a road here that's much longer than that back to the adjacent apartments. So does that meet the emergency vehicle requirements? Again, why is the third stream not being shown? Why is that being left off the plan? Has the site distance for the traffic study been reviewed? And then no architectural elevations have been submitted whatsoever, so we don't know what they're proposing in terms of building. So with all of that, I just want you to think about that before you rezone. First, before you amend a land use plan and then rezone a piece of property, not knowing all the answers to those questions. Thank you.
Mr. Baker, would you sign put your first and last name on there? I asked for 15 minutes. We're running on a half hour, so we're going to expand it. We're going to have to give Mr. Tucker that additional time for rebuttal.
Hi, good evening, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman and Council. I'm Rebecca Schmidt, and I live at 2384 Glenmore Lane in Snellville, Georgia. I am one of the Waterford residents who will be adversely affected by this particular project that's been proposed by Brand. I do want to point out something right here before we begin. I do think Mr. Tucker is right. There has been a lack of information given in this particular property. And you heard some of the questions Mr. Baker has raised just upon our review, and we're not the professionals here, but just our review of what we think is wrong with this plan. I want you to ask yourself, why hasn't Brand provided you with this information? Why are they asking you to make a decision without all of the information that you need to know about whether or not you're making a decision that's going to advance the goals of Snellville in its growth and its development? That's the question you need to be asking. I also wanted to note that Brand has not brought anyone here from our community in support of their position. All of these people in their sea of red are here because they oppose this provision. And I actually was personally offended by Mr. Tucker inserting his own opinions about why we are upset about this particular project and ascribing it to more concerns about the types of people that will be in this particular area. I'm not concerned about the types of people. I'm concerned about this particular location and what they want to use it for in this particular location. Now, I think that you and the mayor and the city council have been paying very close attention to our concerns. I think you've listened to us. I think Brand has not listened to us. They don't want to hear what we have to say. I'm a Waterford resident. I've been a part of this since the beginning. They have never once come to us and asked us, is there anything we can do to work with you on about this? They don't care about our position. That's what they're telling us from here tonight. They don't want to be a good neighbor to Snellville. They don't want to be a good neighbor to Waterford Township. And I think that should be your concern. Now, the reason I came before you tonight is I wanted to talk to you about our concerns as Waterford resident townships about what this particular project means to our community. You've seen from that site plan up there that there is an access point. They have an access point, a driveway that leads directly onto Innsfeld Drive, one of the main roads in my subdivision. Now, Mr. Tucker wants to say that we have exaggerated concerns about what this particular project can do. Now, right now, this isn't shown as being some sort of entrance or exit from their apartment complex into our subdivision, but it could be. They have the right to do that. I don't think that's an exaggerated concern. I think if you allow an entrance or an exit into our neighborhood, that's going to cause increased traffic. That's going to change our concerns about safety in the area. We have children in that area. We don't want to be a cut through to go from one area to the other between those two areas because of all the road congestion that'll happen if you allow this apartment complex to go into place. These are not exaggerated concerns. These are our concerns as your neighbors. I know we're not a part of Snellville, but we are your neighbors and we border your property. These are not exaggerated concerns. These are legitimate concerns. And I don't think they should be dismissed as being just exaggerated concerns. I also want to point to the fact that we do have legitimate concerns about our property value. Mr. Tucker is right. You can go out and you can find a study that says this won't cause any sort of problems with your property values. I looked at some of those studies, and I'm pretty sure that Snellville doesn't have anything like New York City in its apartment situation. We're not like that. What all of those studies say is you can't take one generalization from those studies and apply it wholesale. What you have to do is on a case-by-case basis, you have to look at each individual situation. Now, our research and the studies we have found indicate that if you take a apartment complex and you put it into a suburban area, and if that apartment complex, especially if it's over 100 units like they're proposing, that has a detrimental effect on property values. And what we've seen as estimates is that value could be up to or more than 30%. 30% of my home value could just disappear overnight based upon what you do on this particular project tonight. And I'm not benefiting from that, and Snellville's not benefiting from that. Brand is benefiting from that. And that is a concern. And it won't stop with Waterford Township. If you do this to Waterford Township, then you've got a domino effect to all of the communities. Our prices go down. You've got Brightwater, you've got Havenstone, you've got Woodlands, you've got all of those in that area. Their property values are going to suffer a detriment. Is that what you want to do? And why would you want to do that to us? We have been your good neighbors. We shop in your stores. We send our kids to your schools. We support the city of Snellville. We are so close. We are a good neighbor. And what about the use you already have for this land use that you have for office professional? It is also transitional zoning. They don't want to mention that to you. It's kind of the reverse. Multifamily is a step down from single family, but office professional is a step down from the retail uses you've already gotten. It is transitional. You already are doing that. And I also saw there was some suggestion that you don't have any residential multifamily designations. Now, I just read your map. Your zoning map shows that as RM. There are RM, it's shown as green colorations on your zoning map that show that you do have and have provided for multifamily residential inside the city limits. This is an exclusionary. So our concerns are this. We don't want our property values to suffer. We don't want our schools to suffer by the overcrowding. We don't want the traffic to suffer. You've already heard and seen, if you live in this area, if you shop in this area, you can't even go down 124 at this particular point. And I'm sorry, the traffic study that's been submitted by Brand, I don't know that you can rely on that. And let me tell you why. I went back and I looked at their submissions to you all, and they submitted to you back in July of 2014 a statement about what they said was going to happen with the traffic. they said that give me just a second. And I quote from their letter of intent dated July 14th, this development, quote, will not impose any additional burdens on the transportation network. Now, what's wrong with that statement? Let me tell you what's wrong with it. That was submitted in July. Their traffic study that they supplied to you was not done until August 26, 2014. How did they know 6 weeks earlier what the results of that traffic study was going to be? Can you rely on it? I submit to you that you can't. So what are we asking you to do as residents of Waterford Township, as Snellville community members here? We're asking you to deny this land use plan amendment. We're asking you to deny the rezoning. We're asking you to uphold the plan that you have put into place and that you recently reaffirmed as recently as in July of 2014. Snellville knows what's best for Snellville, not Brand. Thank you.
We can't do that. We just need to go do it the right way. I don't like using my gavel. Don't make me use it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Thomas Mitchell. I'm with the firm of Carruthers and Mitchell in Beaufort, and I represent 5 of the neighboring landowners to this property. 4 of my clients own property immediately adjacent. 1 owns property across Snellville Drive, and they would have standing to challenge any approval of this zoning. There are 2 points that I want to raise and then tell you what the impact of that and the conduct of the applicant is with regard to those. Your ordinances require for a rezoning like this architectural drawings. I understand that staff on occasion has waived that requirement, but your ordinance in mandatory language requires architectural drawings. Your ordinance also requires that the applicant provide whatever else staff may require. And on the applicant's submittal checklist that the applicants are given, it requires stormwater drawings and it requires those architectural drawings, neither of which has this particular applicant provided. They've acknowledged that they haven't provided the architectural drawings. The stormwater that they show is this pond just below on the map. That's the property, that's the pond, that's facility that's on the Linwood property. You all recall last month that one of the conditions that you all imposed when you granted the rezoning to the Linwood properties was that no additional stormwater would go into that pond other than what was already authorized by current easements or what would come off the property. They can't use that facility. So they haven't told you what they're going to do with stormwater, which is a requirement. Why is that important, and why is the fact that I represent 5 adjacent landowners make that important? Is because the Georgia appellate courts have said that if you approve it and the applicant hasn't provided things that are required by your ordinances, that provides us with a basis to challenge the approval. And I'm not asking you to table it or deny it or to table it to give them the opportunity to provide those. They've had that opportunity. They filed this application almost 5 months ago, and they haven't provided what your ordinances, what they knew on day one, they were to provide. They haven't done any marketing of this property. They haven't provided you 2 requirements to grant this application. They've done no marketing of the property. And what I would submit to you is that shows that they really don't have a commitment to Snellville. They don't have a commitment to this property. And I think that their conduct during the course of this process indicates that to you. The Planning Commission meeting, which I believe that some of you were present for, Mr. Tucker wasn't there. An associate of the firm who didn't have any real familiarity, apparently, who was chastised by one of the Planning Commission members, came in his stead. And there was no representative of Brand, there wasn't an engineer, there wasn't an architect, no one who'd put their stamp or their hands on these plans came to the Planning Commission, which is one of the more important hearings that's conducted in one of these. There were dozens, if not scores of residents here. The city attorney came to that Planning Commission meeting. He's not often here. I was here, and Brand had no representative and did not have the submitting attorney. So what that tells you is that they don't provide you with architectural drawings. They don't provide the neighbors with architectural drawings so the neighbors can properly analyze what's going to go on that property. They haven't told you what they're going to do with the stormwater. They don't send representatives to Planning Commission meetings. They don't have any commitment to Snellville, and that would be another reason for you to deny this particular application. And I would ask you to do that on behalf of the 5 homeowners. I provided in writing signed objections to this to Mr. Thompson before the meeting started.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Is there anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Seeing no one, I will hear a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you get up.
Hi.
Hi.
Everyone, how's it going? I know not you guys, but you guys. I'm here to speak on behalf of some of the parents I was talking to and some of my fellow classmates. I'm Darren Johnson. I'm a senior class president at South. And the first thing I wanted to say was when, I'm sorry, can you repeat your name?
My name is Lee Tucker.
When Mr. Tucker said that the school is overcrowded, and I'm going to paraphrase what you said, when it doesn't really, wouldn't help if you add it or not, it wouldn't make a big decision. Coming from a student standpoint, when it comes to having a classroom of 32 kids and each child needs an individual based learning sometimes, I don't think it will be a great solution to increase the number of students that you have in a classroom. And let's say that the apartment complex or the multi-family complex has 200 units. And let's say 100 of those have 2 children that are in high school or middle school. And if they have 2 children each, and these people are going to the high school at Brookwood, or I don't know, the middle school that's in the area, and you're increasing this classroom size just by 1 child, each classroom can hold the students comfortably about 30 to 29 kids. And if you're adding more and more each time, then you're going to see a problem when it comes to the students aren't getting the education that they need. And that's the thing that we really want. If you want to be a council that really cares about the students that's going to one day lead the city of Snellville, I think it's important that we make sure that we check out the areas when it comes to making sure that the kids have great education. And I'm pretty sure that some of the parents here that are from Brookwood really want someone that really listens to them and basically understands that, hey, you know, we understand that you guys want to, you know, develop more homes and more opportunities for low-income families. But truly, I don't think that's the best solution. If you want to develop property in Snellville, let's develop property that will bring in more business. That's the stuff that creates jobs. I don't think bringing in, you know, multi-family complexes are the best way that we can do it. I feel like we truly, if we want to be an effective city and making sure that we have the best education for our students, don't increase the classroom sizes. That's not smart. That's not smart at all. What you have to do is making sure that the students that we have now, making sure that they're getting the education that they need. And if you want to do something like that, let's try to move it outside of Snellville. Go to a different city. Go to a different area. Gwinnett County is a big place, and I'm pretty sure we have a lot of more places to go, you know? So that's my little say on that. And I hope I gave my little input on the best way I can. So thank you guys, and have a good night.
Before you leave, I need you to put your first and last name, and I also need your address.
Okay.
You can just recite your address to me if you'd like.
Okay, you say recite my address? 4410 Summit Heights Drive, Snellville, Georgia.
Thank you. If there's no one else, I will ask Mr. Tucker for his rebuttal. Mr. Tucker, I apologize. I didn't mean to ignore you. I'm a rookie at this. You know, I'm on the job training tonight.
I would have jumped up anyway. I'm not a wallflower.
I'm sure you would have.
Appreciate it. And I appreciate the folks' comments. You know, reasonable people can disagree. When I was growing up on Janmar Road at 1379 Janmar Road, before Waterford Township existed, I used to play in the Big Creek, which is part of the stream that's delineated on this site plan. When I was growing up on Janmar Road, before Bridgewater subdivision, which coincidentally my father developed, I was understood what was going on with respect to the area. When I was growing up on Janmar Road, Scenic Highway was a 2-lane road bordered by horse farms all the way from Snellville to Lawrenceville. I'm sure many of you recognize that and will recall that fondly. The fact of the matter is things have changed in Snellville, and that's a good thing. A lot more. There weren't 18,000 people here when I was living adjacent to the city limits when I was a kid growing up and going to Brookwood High School. It's a different place, and with change, I think opportunity presents itself. With respect to the highest and best use of the property, I would submit to you that it's zoned BG, general commercial. It's been exposed to market for a long period of time. It's an infill, one-off track behind a Best Buy, behind a shopping center, that has existing commercial vacancy today. So the discussions with respect to the land use plan and the office use being transitional is not reflective of what's existing on the ground today. It's commercially zoned property, and I would submit to you that what we're requesting is a downzoning of that and a transitional use. With respect to the jurisdictional waters issue, it's my understanding, and there may be a legitimate disagreement about a third stream out there. It's my understanding that stream has been mitigated and that there are credits in hand. But notwithstanding that, Mr. Baker's correct that to the extent there's an issue, that would have to be dealt with in development. I don't believe that there is, but again, I may be incorrect on that. With respect to the traffic study, there's a third-party traffic study provided and submitted. It's been available from the city, I think, at least since the end of September, and you don't hear anybody, or at least I did not hear anybody take exception to the methodology. They may disagree with respect to its findings, but the fact of the matter is it does support what we said in our letter of intent, and it was done by a third party engaged on behalf of my client. With respect to the issue on architectural elevations, I would submit to you that handing out a package in front of 1,000 people in the Brookwood Cafeteria Commons area does not indicate a desire to withhold information. In fact, we gave several bound copies of architectural elevations to the leadership of that meeting and would have presumed that it had been disseminated. Certainly, there wasn't any problem with websites and pickets and things of that nature, so I think the information flow has been available. You know, one might ask, were they trying to get a balanced consideration of this request, why things were said about people, and why references were made to people, and why businesses that are unrelated in the city that are good corporate citizens were targeted. But, you know, I'll let you be the judge of the motivations relative to that. With respect to the studies and the property values, the studies I was referencing were in Arizona and Texas, not quite New York City, but again, reasonable people can disagree. And with respect to Mr. Mitchell's indignation regarding my client's approach to this project, I would submit to you that I had an associate in my firm come to the Planning Commission meeting, represent the client to the best of his ability, and I'm here before you tonight on behalf of my client, fully able to bind my client, fully able to speak on their behalf. We would request that you approve with the staff's alternative conditions. I will say in my place, if you although I don't think it's necessary because I think it's required in the conditions, but if you adopt conditions, you can include with condition 1 that we would not access Ins-Fail Trace for this development. I think that's implicit in the staff condition proposed for 1, which references site plan specificity and conformity. But to the extent that that's a concern to adjacent property owners, then as I stand here, I will commit to that. Be happy to answer any questions. Hope you will do the right thing. And one last thing I'll say with respect to Mr. Johnson, I appreciate that he is here. I think it's a great exercise in civics, and I think it's a great life lesson. It takes a lot of courage to get up in front of a body and in front of people to make a presentation. I think he serves his student body well. And while we may disagree on the merits or the facts that he was referring to, I would submit to you that that's exactly the type of corporate citizen or community citizen you want in your community. And in spite of the fact he goes to at least what used to be one of Brookwood's bigger rivals, you know, I think he's serving the city well. So I'd like you to approve it. I think it's merited. I think the staff report While it goes the other way in what it says, and I can respect that, again, reasonable people can disagree, but I hope you will agree that the presentation and the materials set forth in that merit approval of the land use plan amendment, merit approval of the zoning, and merit approval of the variance requests. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Tucker? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to have Mr. Powell go to the podium, please, and make sure that this motion is according to the legal.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to deny RZ 14-03.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah,
I don't think Mr. Tucker thinks so.
I mean, in terms of form, we're talking about two things, and the question is raised before the work session was the land use plan amendment. If you don't want to change your land use plan, you don't have to make a motion to do so. If you want to, if you were to go the other way, where you approve the rezoning, you had to amend the land use plan first, so your motion is in order. And with it is the implication that there will be no land use plan amendment and the rezoning would be denied.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second by Councilman Emanuel. Do we have any discussion?
I'd like to make just a couple of comments. We've heard a lot of arguments on both sides of this issue, and I think when it gets down to it, for me, there's some common sense considerations. And I think when you look at the whole situation without casting any aspersions at either side, to me, the common sense approach is to deny this.
Okay, with that, I'll close the discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of denial of LUP 14, RZ 14-03, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. The rezoning is denied. Okay. We're going to take, we only have a couple more items, but we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll return here at 9:25. Thank you. Okay, I'll call this meeting back to order.
Well, hang on a minute. You said 9:25.
By my watch, though.
Okay. All right. I'm just pointing it out. Chief, push that on.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, second reading, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Snellville, Georgia, to revise Chapter 54-171 and to delete Chapter 54-172 and 54-173 regarding work permits, review of applicants for work permits, and license for residential community sales and canvassing businesses. Certain other occupations, businesses, or professions requiring licenses to conduct business within the City of Snellville, Georgia. Ms. Kraus. Mr. Emanuel.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2014-16 to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Snellville, Georgia to revise Chapter 54-171 and to delete Chapters 54-172 and 54-173 regarding work permits, review of applicants for work permits and licenses for residential community sales and canvassing businesses. Certain other occupations, businesses, or professions requiring licenses to conduct business within the City of Snellville.
Mr. Emanuel, we were not asking for a motion. Actually, I was asking Ms. Krause to explain. She has this item on her agenda, so an explanation of exactly what we're looking at.
I think Mr. Emanuel pretty much said it all. The ordinance is very simple. It's been on the books for a long time. It was just hard to understand. And so it's been crafted and rewritten so that it is easier for the public to understand. It was written in a very positive fashion. It was written for not just the solicitor, it was written for the citizens of Snellville, so that both parties are protected. I believe that it is what it is. It took a long time to get here, and I'm ready for it to pass.
Thank you. At this point, I'll open it up to public comment. Anyone speaking for or against? Please state your name and address for the record, please. No, wait till after the session.
Tricia Rollins, 2088 Harbor Oaks Drive, the chair of SNAP, which is Snellville Neighborhood Alert Program. Thank you, Council Member Kraus, for protecting our neighborhoods and to looking at this ordinance again. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I'm excited about this ordinance and ask you to support this work period and canvassing ordinance. I believe this ordinance, this new ordinance, clarifies the current ordinance and alleviates any discrimination of the old ordinance. I appreciate the feedback of Tony Powell, our attorney, city attorney, and police department, Chief Whitehead and Linda Nixon, and all the members that looked into this. It gives the law enforcement, the Snellville PD, the tools to support our neighborhoods when we call and suspect suspicious soliciting. It will let the neighborhoods know where they stand, as well as the solicitor, what behavior we expect in our neighborhoods. When you see a no trespassing, no soliciting sign on a property, know that it means no means no. We're taking back our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Any other further comment? With that, I'll close the public comments portion. Mr. Emanuel, would you like to, at this point, make your motion official?
I'd love to do that.
Okay.
Motion to approve ordinance 2014-16 to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Snellville, Georgia to revise Chapter 54-171 and to delete Chapters 54-172 and 54-173 regarding work permits, review of applicants for work permits and licenses for residential community sales and canvassing businesses, certain other occupations, businesses, or professions requiring licenses to conduct business within the City of Snellville, Georgia.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second. Seconded by Councilmember Kraus. Any discussion of council? Seeing none, I call the vote. All those in favor of passing ordinance 2014-16, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous, it passes.
How do you really feel? Really?
That ends our old business. Now we go on to our new business. The mayor's nomination and council's confirmation of the following board appointment. Snellville Arts Commission, Miss Brittany Washington. I have a comment to make on this. Many of you have heard us speak in the past, over the last couple months, about a procedure for council appointments, or excuse me, to board appointments. We've asked that the applicants' resumes be given to the appropriate boards vet those applicants, and then they recommend to the mayor and council who they feel would be suitable, and only under those circumstances, when they are vetted by the board and recommended by the board, with the council vote to approve. This is the first time that I'm aware of that it absolutely happened exactly like that. I've never met this lady, or met her a week ago, I guess, but she applied for the position with the Board of Arts Commission. Arts Commission had two applicants. They vetted both applicants. brought this lady's name forward. The mayor saw that, brought her name forward, and now we're going to see how that works. So at this point, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the mayor's nomination for the Snellville Arts Commission of Brittany, Washington.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Emanuel. Any conversation or discussion by council? All those in favor, please raise your hand, right hand. Unanimous. The applicant in the room, I do not believe she is. Is she? She's sick. Okay. But it worked all the way through. Good for us. Okay, next item B, consideration and action on approval and authorization to sell 2 surplus Crown Victoria vehicles. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion for approval and authorization for the sale of 2 surplus Crown Victoria vehicles from our police fleet.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Emanuel. Discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor of the action to approval authorize the sale of 2 surplus Crown vehicles, 2 Crown Vic vehicles, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous? Put them up for sale. Consideration and action on the 2015 annual resurfacing and paving budget. I have received the list of the streets that are considered in this proposal, so let me read them off to you, put them in the record. They are Abilene Court, Abilene Lane, Abington Drive, Epping Forest Court, Ferndale Lane, Hemlock Trail, Ivy Way, Ramblewood Way, Summit Crest Court, Summit Crest Lane, Summit View Court, Summit View Way, and Tanglewood Drive. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the 2015 annual resurfacing and repaving bid, PW 141030. Not to exceed $621,579.44. And it goes to E.R. Snell Contractor.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second. Seconded by Councilwoman Kraus. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor of approving the resurfacing budget for the year 2015 not to exceed $621,500 signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous? It is approved. A comment on that, we have come a long way. I remember when I first got on council in 2009, from 2009 to 2010, paving was our public works gurus in the back. As you can say, it was few and far between. Am I right? We've come a long way in the last couple of years with catching up on repaving. We got a way to go, but we're well on our way to catching up. And thank you for all you do. At this time, we'll have council reports. We'll start with Councilman Emanuel.
Going to make this short. We've been challenged by Grayson to see who can raise the most food donations for the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. This competition will run through January 19th. So get all your friends, neighbors, anybody. You do not have to live inside the city of Snellville to make a donation. There'll be drop-off points at Public Works, at City Hall, and a variety of locations throughout the city. You can go to the Facebook page of Give Hunger the Boot or the Give Hunger the Boot website for all the donation sites. And we also accept cash donations. So spread the word because we can't let Grayson beat us. Have a good night.
Councilwoman Kraus.
I'm happy. This will be very short. I wish you all a very blessed Christmas, a happy New Year, happy Hanukkah. Please be safe out there. Enjoy your families and enjoy your vacation. Good night.
Councilmember Howard.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. How's everybody? A little smaller crowd than we had just a few minutes ago. But anyway, I do want to echo what Councilwoman Krause said, just wishing everybody a very safe and joyful holiday season. Merry Christmas. Erica, I'm going to do the last, I just got to close it out with pictures. So bear with me, I have to do this. We have a lot of things in the city to be proud of, and I'm tremendously proud of what we've done with this cop cab. And, this is the Guide Incorporated, and we'll blast through them kind of quick. Doing the community events with the other officers with the Snellville PD has been a very great thing to do. Having it at the golf tournaments. It's just, our department supports the vehicle, and that's very important. Without that, we don't have near as good of activity with it. So, our restaurants, Wild Wing and Bill Peterson and that group, it's just been a great special year to kick off this vehicle, and I look forward to 2015 it being even better, and that's me with a cow. And I knew that question was coming. Yeah. So, yeah, really, I didn't know, But anyway, again, support our local Snellville businesses, big and small, obviously. Anything we want to do is, we truly can find it here locally. And I, again, appreciate the opportunity to serve our city in this capacity and look forward to a very promising and productive 2015. And the pins that I wear are just, they're from my mother. So it's my remembrance of her at Christmas time. So anyway, God bless. Merry Christmas. Good night.
I'll get it going here in a second. Very short, just wanted to announce that the City of Snellville, along with the Snellville Entrepreneur Council, is having a small business resource night, Thursday night at 6:30 here at City Hall. We're pulling together a lot of different resources that are free and available to business owners. A representative from the SBA will be here, the Small Business Association. Also, the Small Business Development Center from UGA representative will be here. We'll have somebody from the Gwinnett County Public Library and a bank as well. Each person will give a short summary of what services and benefits that they offer. And we'll also have a representative from SCORE, which provides free mentoring to business owners. So they'll give a short presentation about what services that they offer and how to tap into those, and then we'll be able to break up and people can ask individual questions of people. So it's just a way to let our businesses know what's available and how to get in touch with it. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Be safe.
First of all, I want to thank you all for putting up with me tonight through this first meeting. It was, I only had about 8 hours notice, so I know I fumbled in places. I apologize for that. I'll do better the next time, I promise. Should I get it next time? Although it seems like a long time ago, on November 11th for Veterans Day, we had a balloon launch here in the city, and it's a little late to talk about it, but I just want you all to remember that we did it and be ready for next year. Next year it'll be 400 to 500 balloons. This year it was 200, and it was pretty awesome. Next year is going to be bigger and better. On behalf of the staff, Mayor Couts, and the rest of the council, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you all second Monday in January 12th, second Monday in January. So until then, happy holidays.